Hey everyone. Recently a representative from Hardell reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do an unboxing and test video of their Rivet nut tool, also known as a Threadsert, and I have the perfect use case for one of these, so I said absolutely, and this is going to be that unboxing video. Looking at the box real quick, it looks like a pretty nice tool. It has 7 interchangeable thread sizes that you can use, both metric and SAE. A lot of common sizes, so it should be pretty convenient to be able to find something that will work for you. And the instructions are on the back, but it seems pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and open it up. Right off the bat, it's in a really nice plastic molded case, and when we open it up, it has a set of instructions. This is just a spacer to keep everything organized. And then it has a variety of the mandrels clearly labeled. This is really nice, and in these little protective cases. And then it's really nice that they have a spot to live, so they're not just loose rattling around. And then also it looks like they include quite a few actual inserts to be able to get you started. The tool itself has a nice weight to it, and it doesn't feel like it's going to bend or get damaged very easily. This is pretty thick material. And these rubber grips are surprisingly comfortable and ergonomic. They're not sticky like some cheap plastics might be. It looks like, as it said on the box, it has 7 different sizes. SAE ones are a gold color, and the metric ones are a silver color. I'm not sure if that means anything other than just a quick way to be able to tell the difference. But it is really nice that they include these. And that's pretty much it for the unboxing part of this. The next thing is going to give this a quick test, and let me show you what I'm going to use it for. So this tool is called a Flatmaster. It's a tool created by a Canadian company that makes pretty unique woodworking tools. I believe they actually sell this as a kit, but I bought this used and it was already assembled. But it's a really nice tool, especially a much cheaper alternative to a drum sander if you're into woodworking and into making things like cutting boards. You can see me use this in my cutting board video that I did recently, the one that I was making for my dad, and I'll link that in the description if you're interested. But the problem that I'm having with this machine, and the problem that the previous owner had with this machine, is that the way that the motor is positioned, the belt, in order for it to be tensioned properly, is very close to the edge of this clearance. And as the belt spins, I'm actually not sure which way it spins, but as it spins, the belt deflects a little bit and it catches right on this lip and makes a pretty awful and annoying clicking or popping noise every time one of these ridges hits this frame. The previous owner mentioned it as something that existed, not necessarily a problem. He just wanted to make me aware of it. And he said he never got around to fixing it because in order to actually move this motor, you have to get inside this whole frame, and there's not really a great way to do that. And so this never bothered him more than the inconvenience of having to get to the nuts on the back side of the bolts that hold this motor on and readjust the motor. And the reason why I was excited when Hardell reached out to me to review their Rivet nut or Threadsert tool is because this is the perfect case to install some of those. There are nuts on the back side of these bolts, and as I said before, there's really just not a great way to get to them from any angle. So I'm going to hopefully do this once and make it super convenient from here on out. I'm going to take these bolts out, try to wrangle the nuts loose, and then in these holes I'm going to insert some of those Threadserts, put the bolts back in, and then I won't have to access the back side of the bolt to be able to put a wrench on the nut to be able to tighten it down, I'll just be able to do all of the adjusting from outside the frame, which will make this tool a lot nicer to adjust in the future. So as you can see, there's no access to the back of this. The only way I was really able to get these out was as I loosened them and was unscrewing them, I was pulling a little bit to apply some pressure onto the nut on the back side, hopefully hold it in place while I loosened the bolt out from the nut. And that did work. That worked for all 4 of them. Unfortunately, all 4 nuts dropped down inside of here, so I'll have to fish those out with a magnet tool later. But in the meantime, I was able to get the motor out of the way, and I was able to get the bolts out. And as you can see, it would be almost impossible to try to hold the motor in position and get these bolts back in with nuts on them while this whole tool is assembled. So this is the perfect case for those rivet nuts. And because this is a slotted hole, I'm probably going to leave this one alone at the moment. These 3, however, are perfect for opening up a little bit with a step drill bit, so the insert can go in, and then installation should be a breeze. So it looks like another feature that I didn't quite realize before is that these mandrels are color-coded to their size. So I think it looks like this one must either be a 5/16 or an M8, and the M8 box is empty, so it comes preloaded with an M8 mandrel in it. And swapping them out is pretty easy. Drop it in the box and put it back in its spot. The bolts that I took out look like they are 3/8 by 16. And I'm going to double check that by checking one of these. This is 5/16, 3/8 by 16. Oh, maybe it's 5/16 by 18. That looks pretty close. And that goes right on. So as I said before, it comes with a variety of very convenient common sizes. In this case, it just happens to be these were the bolts that came off that tool, and it even came from Canada, and it's a SAE size. I don't know where these bolts came from, but they're standard enough, and this includes standard enough sizes that they came with the exact size that I needed. So let's look at the 5/16. Also the same color, sky blue. And the way that these install is there's a groove down here. So of course you have to take this part off, and then this slides into that groove. This part slides over the top and tightens down. And then the cap of the proper size screws into the top of that. And now it is ready to insert a Threadsert or rivet nut. You start out in the open position like you are about to pull a cork out of a wine bottle, and then as you squeeze the arms together, this pulls in, which will compress the rivet part of this and expand this knurled section in the hole, and then it will be pretty positively fixed there. This will allow you to unscrew the tool once the riv nut is inserted, because this will no longer spin. And on the instructions, It actually gives you a guide as to what size hole you need for what size inserts. And in this case, for 5/16 by 18, I need an 11 millimeter or a 7/16 inch hole, which conveniently this step bit set that I have includes, this one is 7/16. This one also includes 7/16. And maybe I'll pull this one out of the package because it's less steps, so it might be easier to use. And then it will just be the second to last step on this bit. So let me open this up and we can get those holes drilled. As I said, we just need to get down to the second to last step, and that should be the perfect size for the insert. And if we just want to do a comparison, that's the one that it hides behind. So now that's a 7/16 inch hole, and this should fit in perfectly, which it does exactly. Now just to do the other two. It's worth making sure that any burrs that are sticking up of your drilled holes are removed, just so that when the Threadsert gets installed, it has a nice positive grip on the surface. So I'm just going to use a deburr tool to clean up this hole a little bit. Now those are all clean and ready to go. And these inserts fit perfectly. To load the insert onto the tool, make sure that the arms are extended and just screw it onto the mandrel that you installed previously until it bottoms out. Come over to the hole that you're going to install it. Squeeze the arms and then just loosen the mandrel. Oops. And it's super important. This is a good example of what happens to the Threadsert. It's really nice that they provided a large bag of these. You want to make sure that the tool is pressed firmly against the piece that you're inserting the Threadsert into. But as you can see, once it compresses, it gets shorter obviously, but it mushrooms out on the inside and makes a really nice connection here to grab onto the material so it doesn't spin or become loose over time. The threads also get closer to the surface, so you may not need as long of a bolt as you may think you need just looking at the uncompressed version. We're going to give that another try. Let me put a new insert on. And make sure that I'm pushing this way at the same time that I'm squeezing the arms together. Now, once you hit resistance, you don't want to keep squeezing. It's as compressed as it's going to be, and any more squeezing that you do will likely either damage the tool or damage the mandrel. And so once you hit that resistance point, you can back out the tool, and the insert is very nicely and cleanly inserted. So now I just need to do the other two, and I can get the motor reinstalled. Again, to install it, open the arms, thread the insert onto the mandrel, put the insert into the hole, make sure you're pushing firmly onto the surface, while you squeeze the arms together. And once you hit resistance, that's enough. Remove the tool. That is another really nicely installed insert. Again, load up the tool, put it in place. And there we go. And now these bolts will just thread straight into the tool itself rather than requiring nuts on the back side of this inaccessible frame. For this video, I'm not going to worry about getting this motor dialed in exactly right, but just to get it back in position to be adjusted later on, I'm going to just throw these bolts in. And as you can see, I can now tighten down these bolts from the outside without having to worry about any nuts or anything on the inside. And now with the motor readjusted, the belt is not going to hit the frame, and this tool is going to be a lot more enjoyable to use without that super annoying sound. All in all, this seems like a fantastic tool if you're in the market for a rivet nut or Threadsert type installer. This one is very well made. It has a nice weight to it. It's really easy to use. It works well as long as you're using it correctly. This actually ended up being a great example, so I don't mind one getting a misfire, if you will. And yeah, check the link in the description if you're interested in getting one of these for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was useful. Please comment below with any thoughts or suggestions, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.